Okay, imagine this scenario. You're a federal employee, you're on the job, doing your thing, and then, bam,
Yeah.
you get hurt.
Right.
Maybe it's a twisted ankle, maybe you strained your back, lifting something. Could be anything, really.
Happens all the time.
And your supervisor, probably meaning well, says, hey, go see Dr. Jones over at the clinic we use. They'll fix you up.
Uh-huh. The company clinic.
Exactly. And it sounds simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Convenient, even. But here's the thing we're going to unpack today. Letting your employer choose your doctor after a federal work injury. That might just be one of the biggest mistakes you can make.
It really can be. It sets up a dynamic most people just don't see coming.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to really get into why picking your own doctor is so incredibly important for your health, obviously, but also for your recovery and, crucially, for your federal workers' compensation claim.
Yeah, it's about making sure the focus stays on your well-being, not the agency's budget or their stats.
We're going to look at how making that choice yourself puts you first.
And it really boils down to understanding this often unseen conflict of interest. It pops up the moment the employer directs your medical care.
A conflict of interest.
Yeah. And for any injured federal worker, whether you're here in Kansas City or over in St. Louis or anywhere, really, grasping this is, well, it's absolutely critical. It's like step one in protecting yourself. You need to know whose interests are actually being prioritized.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit because, we generally trust doctors. We think of them as neutral, focus only on getting us better. So why does it really matter who picks the doctor in this specific situation? What's actually going on?
Well, that assumption of neutrality, that's exactly where the problem starts, the core conflict.
How so?
See, many clinics, and Concentra care is often mentioned in this context, they operate on a business model where their main clients, they're the employers. They're the insurance companies. They're not technically the injured employee walking through the door.
So the clinic gets paid by the employer.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to ask, who is the doctor's real boss in that situation? It's the company paying the bills, not you, the patient. And that kind of structural setup, well, it can definitely influence the medical advice and the type of care you end up receiving.
So it's less about bad intentions maybe and more about the incentives are just pointing in the wrong direction.
Precisely. It's about misaligned incentives. The clinic wants to keep its client, the employer, happy. And often, keeping the employer happy means minimizing costs and time off work.
Okay, so where does this, subtle pressure really show up? How does it actually affect the care someone gets? Can you give some examples?
Oh, definitely. It shows up in some pretty common ways. One big one is downplaying the injury.
Downplaying it. How?
Well, an employer-chosen doctor might minimize how severe your condition actually is. They might say, oh, that bad sprain is just a minor strain, or that shooting pain in your back is just, general soreness.
Why would they do that?
Because a less severe diagnosis often means less treatment, maybe no need for expensive tests, and it looks better on the company's injury logs. It keeps the official record looking, well, less serious and cheaper. Another really common thing is rushing you back to work.
Before you're ready.
Yes, often before you're fully healed. They might clear you for light duty, which sounds okay.
Right, better than nothing.
Maybe. But if you're not truly recovered, going back too soon risks re-injury. It can make the original problem much worse, potentially turning something temporary into a long-term chronic issue. Their focus is getting you back on the clock, sometimes at the expense of getting you fully well. And then there's how they handle your symptoms. This one really gets people frustrated.
What happens?
Many federal workers report that the company doctors just ignore them or question what they're feeling. If you describe pain that's hard to pin down or subjective, it might just get brushed off.
Like they don't believe you.
Exactly. We hear that all the time. The doctor didn't believe my pain, or they suggested it wasn't really work-related. And crucially, they might not document your complaints properly in the medical records. That failure to document can absolutely sink your claim later on.
Wow.
And one more, resistance to specialist care. This is a big one.
Meaning
if you really need, say, an MRI to see what's going on, or you need to see an orthopedic specialist or a neurologist, the employer-aligned clinic might drag their feet or just refuse to order those tests or make those referrals.
it saved money.
Primarily, yes, to keep costs down for their client, the employer. Some clinics, like Concentra, have faced criticism specifically for being reluctant to refer out to specialists. This can mean you don't get the right diagnosis, you don't get the right treatment.
And your claim might get denied because there's no objective proof, right? Like an MRI result.
Precisely. It all ties back to minimizing the employer's liability and costs. The goal often becomes getting you back to work as cheaply and quickly as possible, even if that compromises your long-term health or the validity of your compensation claim.
Okay, hearing all that is,
Mm.
honestly, it's a bit scary. It makes you feel kind of powerless.
Mm.
So what power does an individual federal employee have here? Are you just stuck?
No, absolutely not. And this is the crucial piece, the really good news in all of this.
Okay.
You have the legal right to choose your own doctor. It's right there in the federal law.
Which law is that?
It's the Federal Employees Compensation Act, FECA. It's administered by OWCP, the Office of Workers' Compensation Programs. And under FECA, you, the injured worker, have the right to pick your physician.
So you can just say, no thanks, I'm going to see Dr. Adams.
Pretty much, yes. You have the right to choose the first doctor who treats you for that injury.
The very first one.
Yes. And here's another key point people miss.
Yeah.
Even if you do initially go to the company clinic, maybe it was an emergency right after it happened.
Right, like first aid.
Exactly. You are still allowed to switch later and choose your own doctor for your ongoing care. You are absolutely not required to stick with the doctor just because they're affiliated with your agency. Doesn't matter what forms they give you or what they might suggest.
But even if they hand you a form that lists their doctor.
Even then, the OWCP regulations are very clear. You have freedom of choice. Your agency cannot force you to see their doctor.
Okay, so let's make this practical. Say I twist my ankle at work. My supervisor says, go to Concentra right now. I go, they check it out, maybe wrap it. That's okay.
That initial visit is usually fine, yes, especially for immediate assessment.
But then for all of follow-up visits, for managing the recovery, getting physical therapy referrals, all that stuff, I can say, actually, I'm going to see my own orthopedist, Dr. Lee.
Yes,
Nah.
that's exactly, you're right. You can switch to Dr. Lee for your continuing treatment.
And how do I do that?
Yeah.
Is it complicated paperwork?
Generally, it's pretty straightforward. You typically need to inform your agency, and importantly, OWCP, in writing, who your chosen physician is. There are specific forms, or sometimes just a clear letter suffices. Your agency might try to, gently steer you back to their choice.
Right, imply it's easier or required.
Exactly, but don't let that pressure you. The law is firmly on your side. In fact, the burden is really on them to prove why you shouldn't see your chosen doctor, which is a very high bar. It's not on you to justify why you want to see Dr. Lee.
That's really empowering to know. So exercising that, right, choosing your own independent doctor, why does that make such a huge difference? For your health and for the claim itself?
Oh, the advantages are massive. Huge. First off, you get genuinely unbiased care.
Unbiased how?
An independent doctor, one you choose, has no allegiance to your employer. None. Their only priority is you, your health, your recovery, your claim. They're going to treat you based on what you actually need. They'll listen to you, validate your pain, take your symptoms seriously, and advocate for the treatment that's truly best for you. It shifts the whole focus from cost saving to patient care.
Okay, unbiased care. What else?
Second, you're much more likely to get a thorough diagnosis and proper treatment.
More thorough than the company clinic.
Often, yes. Think about it. An independent doctor isn't usually dealing with that sort of high volume, quick turnaround pressure you sometimes find in occupational clinics. They can take the time needed to really figure out what's wrong. They're more likely to order the necessary tests, the MRI, the nerve conduction studies, whatever it takes.
And refer you to specialists if needed.
Absolutely. And they'll explore potential underlying issues. Their goal isn't just getting you back to work quickly. It's achieving a full and lasting recovery. We hear so many stories where an independent doctor found a serious injury that the first clinic completely missed or dismissed.
That makes sense. What about the claim paperwork? You mentioned that's critical.
Yes. Third, and this is vital for your claim, proper documentation. So many federal workers' comp claims get denied just because the medical reports aren't right.
What goes wrong?
The doctor might fail to include key details, or they don't use the specific language OWCP requires, or, and this is a big one, they don't clearly and explicitly link your injury or condition to your specific work duties.
The causation link.
Exactly. But if you choose a physician who's experienced with the OWCP system, and there are doctors who specialize in this, they know exactly how to write these reports. They know how to document everything thoroughly, make that crucial connection to your federal job, use the right terminology, meet the deadlines. This kind of meticulous documentation is absolutely fundamental to getting your claim approved and avoiding those bureaucratic nightmares.
So the doctor becomes an advocate in a way through their paperwork.
In a very real sense, yes. And that leads to the fourth advantage, actual support through the whole OWCP process.
What kind of support?
Many clinics that are savvy about OWCP, the ones who regularly treat federal employees, often offer help, sometimes free help, with the claim forms themselves, like the CA1 for a traumatic injury or the CA2 for an occupational disease. They know the system inside and out.
They help with the forms? That's huge.
It is. They understand the deadlines, what evidence OWCP finds persuasive, how to communicate effectively with the Department of Labor. It takes a massive burden off your shoulders when you're already dealing with an injury. You're not just getting a doctor, you're getting like a partner who knows how to navigate this complex system.
Okay, that paints a really compelling picture. It's not just about the medical side. It's about having someone in your corner for the whole process, which can feel overwhelming.
Exactly.
So how does someone actually find these independent doctors?
Mhm.
Especially, let's say, if you're a federal worker in Kansas City or maybe St. Louis, where you mentioned you might get sent to a place like Concentra first.
That's a really practical question. And yeah, it's true. In areas like KC and St. Louis, federal employees often are initially directed to those employer-focused clinics. But remember, step one is knowing you don't have to stay there.
Right, exercise the right to choose.
Yes. And the good news is there are clinics in those specific areas that really specialize in federal workers' comp and prioritize the patient. For example, in Kansas City, there's Restore Muscle and Joint, and they have a partner office, Federal Injury Centers of St. Louis. These places are set up specifically to help injured federal workers,
So they know the OWCP system.
inside and out. Their doctors are Department of Labor credentialed. They're committed not just to top-notch medical care and rehab, but also to providing that crucial claims assistance. Their whole focus is making sure you get the full medical treatment and the compensation benefits you're entitled to under FECA.
And they actively encourage you to choose your own doctor.
Absolutely. They pride themselves on it. They make it clear they work for you, the patient, not for your agency or some insurance company. Their loyalty is to your health and your rights.
That difference in approach just sounds fundamental. It means your recovery, your actual well-being, is the #1 priority, not somebody else's bottom line.
Exactly. Clinics like Restore Muscle and Joint or the Federal Injury Centers of St. Louis, they're there to help you get the test you need, the specialist care you might require, things that might get resisted elsewhere.
And they help with the OWCP paperwork too, right?
Yes, they often have specialists on staff who can help you file the documents correctly, communicate with the DOL for you. It's about taking that stress off your plate and making sure everything is done right to support your claim. They're not just treating the injury, they're treating the whole situation, navigating the system with you.
You know, sadly, too many federal workers probably have learned this the hard way. They stuck with the company doctor and found out too late the person wasn't really fighting for them. Maybe their claim got denied or the recovery stalled.
It happens far too often.
Don't let that be your story. If you're a federal employee, remember, the law gives you the power. You have the right to choose who treats your work injury. Yeah, speak up. Assert that right. Look for a doctor you trust, ideally one who's DOL authorized and knows the OWCP ropes. Ask colleagues. Look for clinics known for helping feds. And if you are in the Kansas City or St. Louis areas, remember those names: Restore Muscle and Joint, Federal Injury Centers of St. Louis. There are resources available to you.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, your health, your ability to recover fully, it's just too important to trust to a doctor whose primary loyalty might lie with your employer's financial interests, not your medical needs.
It seems so obvious when you put it like that.
Doesn't it? By choosing your own doctor, you're taking control. You're protecting your rights, ensuring you get unbiased, thorough care, and seriously boosting your chances of getting your workers' comp claim approved without fighting tooth and nail. Don't let the system intimidate you.
The law's on your side.
The law is on your side, and there are good doctors out there ready to help you use it. So, take control of your care from the start. You'll heal better, you'll likely recover faster, and you'll stand a much, much better chance of receiving all the benefits you deserve. Think about it. Your future well-being really can depend on this single choice. Make the one that puts you